The stars were cold and silent around the dying ship. Dr. Veltar pressed his four-fingered hand against the metal wall and felt the vibration growing weaker. The power core was failing. Soon, there would be no heat, no air, no life. 23. Members of his research team floated in the corridors of the ship Cathamoran. They moved slowly, trying to save energy. Their blue-green skin had turned pale. Their large eyes looked tired and scared. Veltar had been a scientist for 40 years. He had seen many worlds, studied many strange things, but he had never felt fear like this. Death was coming, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. 3 days ago, everything had been different. The research team had found something amazing. An old human ship drifting in space. It was huge and dark, with no power. The humans inside had been dead for many years. Veltar's team had gone inside to study the ship. They wanted to learn about human technology. The hegemony leaders always wanted to know more about other species. Knowledge was power in the galaxy. But something had gone wrong. Very wrong. The first researcher to get sick was young Kethmos. She started coughing and could not stop. Her nose ran with clear fluid. She felt hot and cold at the same time. The medical computers could not find what was wrong. Then others got sick. One by one. The sickness spread through the ship like fire. Soon half the team was lying in their beds, too weak to work. Dr. Veltar had sent out a distress call. Help was coming, they said. Commander Zixtal would save them. The hegemony never left their people behind. But Veltar had been wrong. The hegemony ships arrived 2 days later. 5 big warships with shiny hulls and powerful weapons. They stopped far away from the Cathamoran, too far away. Commander Zixtal's voice came through the radio. His words were cold and hard. Research vessel Cathamoran, you are carrying unknown disease. We cannot help you. This is final order. Veltar could not believe what he heard. Commander, we need medical help. We have medicine. We have doctors. You can save us. Negative. Risk is too high. Hegemony cannot lose more ships. You understand orders. Veltar felt something break inside his chest. Not his body, his spirit. Commander, please. We are your people. We followed orders. We did our duty. Your duty is to die quietly. Do not call again. The hegemony ships turned away. Their engines glowed bright blue. Then they jumped into hyperspace and were gone. Veltar stared at the empty space where they had been. 23 researchers, 23 lives, left to die because they might be dangerous. That was yesterday. Now the ship was dying too. Veltar floated to the medical bay. His team was there lying on white beds. They breathed slowly. Their skin was hot to touch. The sickness was winning. Young Kethmos looked up at him. Doctor, are we going to die? Veltar wanted to lie. He wanted to say help was coming. But he was a scientist. He dealt in facts. Yes, little one. We are going to die. She nodded like she already knew. Will it hurt? No. We will just go to sleep when the air runs out. Good. I am very tired. Veltar touched her head gently. The young ones always asked the hard questions. The ones that made his heart ache. He floated to his workstation and turned on the recording device. Someone should know what happened here. Someone should remember. This is Dr. Veltar of the research vessel Cathamoran. Ship date is 23:87.156. We are drifting in Sector 7G. Power core failing. Life support has maybe 40 hours left. He paused and looked around the dying ship. We found a human colony ship 3 days ago. Ship name was New Hope. Very old design. All humans inside were dead for many years. We went inside to study their technology. The recording device hummed quietly. Veltar continued. Unknown pathogen infected our team. Symptoms include fever, coughing, fluid from nose. Our medical computers cannot identify disease, cannot create cure. His voice got quieter. Hegemony Command has abandoned us. They fear the disease will spread. They choose to let us die rather than risk their ships. Veltar stopped recording. What else was there to say? The hegemony had made their choice. Practical. Logical. Cold. He floated to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, life continued. Ships traveled between worlds. People laughed and loved and dreamed. But not here. Here there was only the slow approach of death. The power flickered. The lights went dim for a moment, then came back. Not much time left now. Veltar thought about his home world. Green skies and purple oceans. His family would never know what happened. The hegemony would say there was an accident, a power core failure. They would not mention the abandonment. Behind him, someone coughed. The sound echoed in the quiet ship. It was the sound of the dying. Veltar closed his eyes and tried to remember better times. Times when he believed the hegemony cared about its people. Times when he thought civilization meant something more than cold calculations and acceptable losses. The stars watched in silence as the Catamaran drifted deeper into the void. Its distress beacon still called out, but no one was listening. No one cared. Death was patient. It could wait. Captain Jake Murphy was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm went off. The sound was loud and sharp in the quiet bridge of the USS Defiance. Coffee spilled on his uniform as he jumped up from his chair. "What's happening?" Jake asked. "Lieutenant." Amy Carter looked up from her station. She was the ship's communications officer. Her fingers moved fast over the control panel. "Captain, I'm picking up a distress signal, very weak, coming from Sector 7G. Jake walked over to look at her screen. The Defiance was a human destroyer, one of the newer ships in Earth's small fleet. It had been patrolling this area of space for 2 weeks. They had not seen another ship the whole time. "Can you clean up the signal?" Jake asked. Amy worked for several minutes. The static got quieter. Then they heard it. A voice speaking in an alien language. The words sounded sad and tired. "The computer is translating now," Amy said. "It's coming through." The alien voice filled the bridge. "This is research vessel Catamaran. We are dying. Our people have left us. Please, if anyone hears this, remember that we tried to do good. Work." The bridge got very quiet. Jake felt something cold in his stomach. He had heard distress calls before, but never one like this. Never one that sounded so hopeless. "Amy, where is that signal coming from exactly?" "About 6 hours away at full speed, Captain. The signal is getting weaker. I think their power is almost gone." Jake sat back in his captain's chair. He thought about his orders. Earth Command had told him to patrol this sector and avoid contact with alien ships. Humans were still new to the galaxy. They were supposed to be careful. But someone was dying, out there. "Dr. Grant to the bridge," Jake said into his communicator. Dr. Paul Grant arrived 5 minutes later. He was the ship's medical officer, a thin man with gray hair and kind eyes. He had been a doctor for 20 years before joining the space fleet. "What can I do for you, Captain?" "Listen to this." Jake played the alien distress call again. Dr. Grant listened carefully. When it was over, he frowned. They mentioned disease, something their medical systems can't cure. "Is it dangerous to us?" Dr. Grant thought for a moment. "Hard to say without more information. But, Captain, we should get more details about their symptoms." Amy had been working on the translation system. "I've got more of their message, Captain. They say they have fever, coughing, and runny nose. Their people abandoned them because they were afraid the disease would spread." Dr. Grant's eyes got wide. "Captain, that sounds like a common cold." "A what?" "A cold. You know, the sniffles. Humans get them all the time. For us, it's nothing serious. But for aliens who have never been exposed to human diseases," Dr. Grant shook his head, "it could be deadly to them." Jake stared at the doctor. "You're saying they're dying from a cold?" "It's possible. Many alien species have no immunity to human viruses. What's harmless to us could kill them." Jake walked to the big window at the front of the bridge. Space looked back at him, cold and empty. Somewhere out there, people were dying from something, Humans wouldn't even stay home from work for. Captain, Amy said quietly, I'm reading their ship's power levels. They have maybe 30 hours left before complete failure. Jake closed his eyes. He thought about Earth Command's orders. He thought about staying safe and following rules. Then he thought about people dying alone in the dark. Amy, send a message to that ship. Tell them help is coming. Sir? Amy looked surprised. You heard me. Tell them the human ship Defiance is coming to help. Dr. Grant stepped forward. Captain, we don't know if we can help them. We don't know if it's safe. Jake turned around. His face was hard and determined. Doctor, they're dying from a cold. A cold. Their own people left them to die from something. We cure with soup and rest. But the regulations can go to hell. Jake's voice was firm. Amy, set course for that ship, full speed. Amy's fingers moved over her controls. Course set, Captain. Dr. Grant, I want you to prepare everything we have for treating cold symptoms. Antivirals, fever reducers, everything. Captain, I should remind you that Earth Command ordered us to avoid contact with infected alien vessels. Jake sat down in his chair. Doctor, let me ask you something. If you were dying and calling for help, would you want someone to follow regulations or would you want them to come save you? Dr. Grant was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. I'll get the medical bay ready, Captain. As Dr. Grant left the bridge, Jake called his senior officers together. Within an hour, the whole crew knew what they were doing. Some were worried, some were excited, but no one complained. Chief Engineer Lisa Hayes came to see Jake privately. She was a tough woman who had worked on ships for 15 years. Captain, I want you to know something. My grandfather was in the Merchant Marine back on Earth. He always said the first rule of the sea was that you never leave someone to die if you can help them. Jake nodded. Space isn't so different from the sea, is it? No, sir, it's not. The Defiance flew through space toward the dying alien ship. In the engine room, Lisa worked on increasing their speed. In the medical bay, Dr. Grant prepared medicines that might save alien lives. On the bridge, Amy tried to make contact with the Kethmoran. Jake stayed in his chair, watching the stars. He knew he was probably ending his career. Earth Command would not be happy. But he also knew he would rather lose his job than lose his soul. Captain, Amy said, I'm getting a response from the alien ship. They want to know why we're coming. They say their own people consider them too dangerous to save. Jake picked up the communicator. This is Captain Jake Murphy of the USS Defiance. We're coming because that's what humans do. We don't leave people to die in space, not on my watch. The alien response came back quickly. It was just one word, but Amy translated it with tears in her eyes. They said impossible, Captain. Jake smiled. Well, they're about to learn that humans specialize in impossible things. Dr. Veltar could not believe what he was seeing on his scanner screen. A ship was coming toward them. A real ship with working engines and full power. After 2 days of waiting to die, someone had answered their call. But this ship was wrong. All wrong. Kethmos, he called to the young researcher. She was still sick, but could sit up now. Look at this scanner reading. What do you see? Kethmos floated over slowly. Her big eyes studied the screen. That design, it's human. Yes, a human warship is coming to help us, but humans barely know us. We've only met them a few times. Why would they risk their lives for us? Veltar had no answer. In 40 years of science, he had never seen anything like this. The hegemony would never risk a ship to save strangers. It was not logical. The human ship was called the Defiance. It was much smaller than hegemony warships. The hull looked rough and simple, but it moved fast and sure through space. A voice came over the radio. It spoke in basic galactic language, but with a strange accent. This is Captain Jake Murphy of the USS Defiance. We are here to help. What is your condition? Veltar was so surprised he almost forgot to answer. This is Dr. Veltar of the Kethmoran. We are dying from unknown disease. Our power core is failing. We have maybe 20 hours of life support left. Understood. We are sending over a team to help. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. Veltar almost laughed. He was terrified, but not of dying anymore. He was afraid of hope. Hope hurt more than fear. The human ship docked with the Catamaran. Veltar heard the metal seals connect. Then he heard something he had not heard in days. Footsteps, people walking with purpose. The airlock opened. 3 humans floated inside wearing bulky white suits. Their faces were hidden behind glass masks. They carried tools and equipment that looked crude but well-made. The first human was a woman with short brown hair. She spoke through a radio in her helmet. I'm Chief Engineer Lisa Hayes. Don't worry. We're here to help. The second human was older with gray hair. Dr. Paul Grant, Medical Officer. I need to examine your sick crew members. The third human was younger with strong hands. Technician Bob Miller. I'm here to fix your power problems. Veltar stared at them. These humans had come aboard a diseased ship to save aliens they had never met. It made no sense. Lisa Hayes looked around the failing ship. Your power core is a mess, but I think we can fix it. She turned to her team. Bob, help me get to the engine room. Dr. Grant, check on the sick ones. Dr. Grant floated over to where the alien crew was lying. He pulled out a small device and pointed it at them. Fascinating. Your symptoms match human rhinovirus perfectly. Rhino what? Veltar asked. Rhinovirus, the common cold. For humans, it's no big deal. We get them all the time, but your immune systems have never seen anything like it. Dr. Grant opened his medical bag. Inside were bottles and syringes. I brought antiviral medications from our ship. They should help your people recover quickly. Veltar watched the human doctor work. Dr. Grant was gentle with the sick aliens. He spoke softly to them. He did not act afraid or disgusted. Doctor, Veltar said, why are you helping us? Your people barely know us. Dr. Grant looked up from treating young Kethmos. Because you need help and we can give it. That's enough. Reason for any human. In the engine room, Lisa Hayes was working on the power core. She had removed several panels and was connecting human equipment to alien systems. It should not work. Human technology was different from hegemony designs, but somehow it was working. Your power core isn't really broken, Lisa told Veltar. It just needs a kickstart. Bob, hand me that power cell. Bob Miller passed her a small human battery. Lisa connected it to the alien power system with cables and clips. The lights in the ship got brighter. That should hold you until we can get your main core running again, Lisa said. She wiped sweat from her forehead. Your technology is pretty smart, but it's not very flexible. Everything has to be perfect or it stops working. How did you know how to fix it? Veltar asked. Lisa grinned. We didn't. We just tried different things until something worked. That's the human way. Over the next few hours, the Defiance crew brought the Catamaran back to life. Dr. Grant gave medicine to all the sick aliens. Lisa and Bob got the power core running properly. They brought over food and clean water. Most importantly, they brought hope. Kethmos was the first to recover completely. She sat up in her bed and looked around with clear eyes. Dr. Veltar, I feel much better. The fever is gone. Other crew members started recovering too. The coughing stopped. Their skin returned to normal color. The medicine was working. Dr. Grant checked his readings. Everyone should be completely healthy in another day or two. The virus is dying off. Veltar could not understand it. But our medical computer said this disease was incurable. For you, maybe. But humans have been dealing with colds for thousands of years. We know how to fight them. Captain Murphy's voice came over the radio from the Defiance. How are things? Over there? Good news, Captain, Dr. Grant replied. Everyone is going to be fine. Just a bad cold like we thought. Outstanding. Lisa, how much longer do you need? Lisa looked at her work. Give me 2 more hours to make sure their systems are stable. Then they should be good to go. As the day went on, Veltar talked with the human crew. He learned about their homeworld called Earth. He learned about their history of exploration and discovery. He learned that humans had a saying, leave no one behind. But we are not your people, Veltar said to Captain Murphy when he came aboard to check on the work. Captain Murphy shrugged. Doesn't matter, you needed help, we could give it, that makes you our people. When the work was finished, the Catamaran was better than before. The power core ran smoothly. All the crew members were healthy and strong. Their ship was ready to continue its mission. The humans prepared to leave. Dr. Grant left extra medicine, in case anyone got sick again. Lisa left spare parts and repair instructions. Bob left a human-made backup power unit. As the airlock closed, Veltar called out, "Why? Why did you save us?" Captain Murphy paused at the door. Because that's what people do for each other. And you're people just like us. The Defiance undocked and prepared to continue its patrol. But everything had changed. The aliens aboard the Catamaran had seen something impossible. They had seen strangers risk everything to save them. Veltar looked around his ship at his healthy crew. They were alive because humans had decided that saving lives was more important than following orders. It was the most amazing thing he had ever seen. Commander Zixtal was angry. Very angry. He stood on the bridge of his flagship and stared at the report on his screen. The humans had interfered. They had saved the infected ship. "This is impossible," he said to his aide. "The research vessel was contaminated. We followed proper protocol. We protected the fleet." "Yes, Commander." But the humans ignored protocol. They boarded the diseased ship anyway. Zixtal's 4 arms moved with frustration. In all his years of command, he had never seen anything so foolish. The humans had risked their lives for strangers. It made no sense. "Send a message to Hegemony Command. Tell them the humans have interfered with a quarantine operation. Request permission to destroy both ships." "Sir, are you sure? The humans claim they have cured the disease." "Impossible. Our best medical computers could not find a cure. These primitive humans cannot do what we could not." But even as he said it, Zixtal felt doubt. The humans were new to space, but they had surprised everyone before. Their technology was crude, but it worked in strange ways. The reply from Hegemony Command came quickly. "Commander Zixtal, you are ordered to return to Sector 7G immediately. Destroy both vessels to prevent contamination spread. This is priority 1. Zixtal smiled coldly. "Finally, clear orders. Prepare the fleet. We jump. In 1 hour." Aboard the USS Defiance, Captain Jake Murphy was drinking coffee and reading reports when Lieutenant Amy Carter called out from her station. "Captain, I'm detecting hyperspace signatures. 3 large ships incoming." Jake set down his coffee cup. "How large?" "Much larger than us, sir. Hegemony warships by the look of them." Jake felt ice in his stomach. He had been expecting this. The Hegemony did not like being embarrassed. They did not like being shown up by humans. "Red alert. All hands to battle stations." The alarm sounded throughout the ship. Crew members ran to their positions. Dr. Grant secured his medical bay. Lisa Hayes powered up the engines. Everyone knew what was coming. The 3 Hegemony ships appeared in flashes of blue light. They were massive, each one 3 times the size of the Defiance. Their hulls were smooth and silver. Their weapons were bigger than Jake's entire ship. "Commander," Zixtal's voice came over the radio. It was cold and hard. "Human vessel, you have violated quarantine protocols. You will withdraw immediately or be destroyed." Jake walked to his communications panel. His crew watched him with worried faces. They all knew they could not win a fight against 3 Hegemony warships. "This is Captain Murphy. We are conducting a rescue operation. The quarantine is no longer necessary. We have cured the disease. Impossible. You will withdraw now." Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was scared, but they stood at their posts. They trusted him. They believed in what they were doing. "Negative. We don't abandon people in need." There was silence on the radio for a long moment. Then Zixtal spoke again. His voice sounded confused. "Captain Murphy, you are greatly outnumbered. We have superior firepower. You cannot win." "I'm not trying to win, Commander. I'm trying to do what's right." Aboard the Catamaran, Dr. Veltar watched the confrontation with growing fear. His crew was huddled around the scanner displays. They could see the massive hegemony ships surrounding the small human destroyer. "They're going to fight for us," young Kethmos whispered. "The humans are going to die protecting us." Veltar could not speak. In all his years, he had never seen courage like this. The humans knew they would lose. They knew they would die. But they would not abandon their duty. Dr. Veltar, one of his crew members, called out, "Should we try to run? We could jump to hyperspace." Veltar shook his head. "No. If we run, the humans die for nothing. We stay." He opened a communication channel to both fleets. "This is Dr. Veltar of the research vessel Kethmoran. Commander Zixtal, the humans speak the truth. They have cured our disease. We are no longer contaminated." "Impossible," Zixtal replied. "Our computers said there was no cure. Your computers were wrong. The humans succeeded where we failed. They used simple medicines that work perfectly." Dr. Veltar transmitted his medical data to the hegemony ships. "Here is the proof. Examine it yourself." There was a long pause. Jake could imagine the hegemony scientists checking the data. They would find that Veltar was telling the truth. But would it matter? The hegemony had made their decision. They did not like to be wrong. Commander Zixtal came back on the radio. His voice was different now, less certain. "The data shows the disease is gone, but you still violated protocols. You still took unacceptable risks." "That's right," Jake said. "We took risks to save lives. That's what people do." "People? You risked your ship for aliens. They are not your people." Jake moved the Defiance between the hegemony ships and the Kethmoran. His small destroyer looked tiny compared to the massive warships, but it did not move away. "Commander, let me explain something about humans. When someone needs help, they become our people. It doesn't matter what they look like. It doesn't matter where they come from. If they need help and we can give it, we help. That makes no logical sense. Maybe not, but it's who we are." The standoff continued for long minutes. 3 massive warships faced one small human destroyer. Everyone waited to see who would blink. First, finally, Dr. Veltar spoke again. "Commander Zixtal, I have something to say." "Speak, Doctor." "I have been a loyal member of the hegemony for 40 years. I have followed every order. I have served without question. But today I learned something new." Veltar's voice grew stronger. "I learned that there is something more important than following orders. There is something more important than logic and protocols. There is doing what is right. Doctor, you are emotional because of your illness." "No, Commander. I am emotional because someone cared enough to save my life. Someone I had never met, decided I was worth saving. The humans risked everything for strangers." The radio was quiet for a moment. Then Veltar continued. "Commander, you left us to die. Our own people abandoned us because we might be dangerous. But these humans, these strangers, they came to save us anyway." Aboard his flagship, Commander Zixtal stared at his screens. The human ship was so small, so weak, but it would not move. It would not abandon the aliens it had saved. His aide spoke quietly. "Commander, what are your orders?" Zixtal looked at the tactical display. One shot from his main guns would destroy the human ship. It would be over in seconds. The contamination threat would be ended. But the contamination was already ended. The humans had done the impossible. They had cured a disease that hegemony, science could not touch, and they had done it because they thought it was right. "Commander?" his aide asked again. Zixtal closed his eyes. When he opened them, his decision was made. But it was not the decision anyone expected. Commander Zixtal stared at the tactical display for a long time. His finger hovered over the weapons control. One button push would end this problem forever. The human ship would be destroyed. The contamination threat would be over. But something had changed in his mind. The humans had done something impossible. They had cured a disease with simple medicines. They had fixed alien technology with basic tools. They had risked their lives for strangers. His aide waited nervously. "Commander, your orders?" Zixtal looked at the small human ship on his screen. The USS Defiance sat between his fleet and the research vessel. It had not moved. It would not move. Even facing certain death, the humans would not abandon their duty. "Stand down, weapons," Zixtal said quietly. "Sir?" His aide could not believe what he heard. "I said stand down, weapons. All ships." "But Commander, our orders from Hegemony Command." "I know our orders." Zixtal turned away from the display. "But I also know what I see here. The contamination is gone, the disease is cured. There is no threat." He opened a communication channel to the human ship. "Captain Murphy, this is Commander Zixtal. We are withdrawing our weapons. You are free to continue your mission." The silence on the radio lasted for several seconds. Then Captain Jake Murphy's voice came through, sounding surprised. "Commander, are you sure? What about your orders?" "My orders were to prevent contamination. The contamination no longer exists. The mission is complete." But even as he said it, Zixtal knew it was not the whole truth. The real truth was harder to accept. The humans had shown him something he had never seen before. They had shown him what it meant to care about others more than yourself. Dr. Veltar's voice joined the conversation. "Commander Zixtal, thank you. You have made the right choice." "Perhaps, Doctor. Perhaps." The 3 hegemony warships turned away from the smaller vessels. Their weapons powered down. The crisis was over, but the real change was just beginning. Aboard the USS Defiance, the crew cheered quietly. They had faced impossible odds and won without firing a shot. Captain Murphy sat in his chair and let out a long breath. "Well," he said to his bridge crew, "that was interesting." Lieutenant Amy Carter laughed. "Captain, I think that's the biggest understatement in galactic history." Dr. Grant came to the bridge a few minutes later. "Captain, I've been monitoring the alien ship. All their crew members are completely healthy. The virus is gone." "Good. Any chance it could come back?" "No, sir. Once they recover from a rhinovirus, they'll have immunity, just like humans do." Jake nodded. "Amy, send a message to Dr. Veltar. Tell him they're free to continue their mission. Also send our medical data to their computers, in case they run into this problem again." "Already done, Captain." Jake stood up and walked to the front window of the bridge. Space looked the same as always, cold and dark and empty. But something felt different. Something had changed. On the research ship Kethmoran, Dr. Veltar called his crew together. They floated in the main room, healthy and alive. 3 days ago, they had been waiting to die. Now they had a future again. "My friends," Veltar said, "we have seen something amazing today. We have learned that there are people in this galaxy who care more about doing right than following rules." Young Kethmos raised her hand. "Doctor, what do we do now? Do we go back to the hegemony?" Veltar thought about that question. The hegemony was his home, his people, his civilization. But they had left him to die when he needed them most. "Yes, we go back. But we also do something else. We tell everyone what happened here. We tell them about the humans who saved us. We tell them that there is a better way to live. Will they believe us? Some will. And that will be enough to start." Over the next few weeks, the story of the rescue spread throughout the galaxy. Dr. Veltar told anyone who would listen about the human ship that had saved his crew. He shared the medical data that showed how simple human medicines had cured an impossible disease. Other alien species heard the story and began to ask questions. Why had the hegemony abandoned the research ship? Why had only the humans been willing to help? The Galactic Council called special meetings to discuss the human incident. Some representatives were angry that humans had interfered with hegemony operations. Others were impressed by human courage and compassion. Dr. Veltar spoke at one of these meetings. He stood before leaders from dozens of alien civilizations and told his story. "The humans saved my life," he said. "They saved my crew. They risked their ship and their lives for people they had never met. They did this because they believe all life has value." One council member interrupted. "But doctor, their actions were illogical. They could have been killed." "Yes, they could have died. But they chose to risk death rather than let others die. Is that not what advanced civilization should mean? Should we not care for each other? The question spread to other parts of the galaxy. Young aliens began to ask why their governments followed protocols that let people die. Older aliens began to remember times when they had valued life over rules. Change came slowly, but it came. Some alien species adopted human protocols for rescue operations. They began to help ships in distress regardless of risk. They began to ask if following orders was always more important than saving lives. The hegemony tried to stop the spread of these ideas. But ideas are hard to kill once they take root. Commander Zixtal found himself thinking about the human captain more and more. The small ship that would not move. The crew that would not abandon their duty. He had been trained to follow orders, without question. But now he questioned everything. Captain Murphy never knew how far his actions reached. He filed a simple report with Earth Command about rescuing an alien research vessel. He expected to be disciplined for disobeying orders. Instead, he received a medal. "Captain," Admiral Roberts said during the ceremony, "you have shown the galaxy what humanity stands for. You have proven that doing right matters more than following rules." Jake felt uncomfortable with all the attention. "Sir, I just did what anyone would do." "No, Captain, you did what humans do, and that has made all the difference." Years later, Jake Murphy would command a fleet of ships dedicated to rescue operations. Dr. Veltar would become an ambassador for human-alien cooperation. Commander Zixtal would leave the hegemony to start his own rescue service. But none of them knew that future yet. They only knew that something had changed in the cold darkness of space. A small light had been lit. A voice had said that life mattered more than rules. The thunder had echoed across the galaxy, and people were listening. Jake finished his mission report with these words. "Command wanted to know why we risked our ship for a bunch of aliens. I told them it's simple. Space is cold and dark enough without us making it worse. Sometimes the right thing to do is the only thing to do." The USS Defiance continued its patrol, unaware that its crew had just shifted the balance of power in their corner of the galaxy. They had shown that advanced civilization should be measured not by technology, but by compassion. And in the vast darkness of space, that message spread like ripples on a pond. Slowly but surely, the galaxy began to change.